Welcome back, everyone. So in this video, I'll be riding around my one wheel around my neighborhood, showing off where I live. This is right every night, do 5 miles a night. So doing this video, I'll be playing a podcast and going over it, breaking it down of a story that happened in Seattle, Washington. And it shows why teachers and school districts have become basically a public enemy, okay? They are brainwashing the kids. They're using them, psychologically messing with their heads, okay? This is why we need to go out and vote and get sanity back into the school districts. Vote Republican, okay? The left have just lost it, okay? They're absolutely crazy, all right? And this story is about 2 years old, okay? Well, this podcast was recorded 2 years ago. The story is even older than what they're talking about, okay? It's just crazy, okay? That we need to go out there and stop the radical left from indoctrinating our kids, okay? It's sad. I have many friends that are teachers, okay? But how crazy the school districts and teachers have gotten over the last couple of years is unforgivable. Just remember, guys, I don't own any of this audio, so I have no rights to it. I'm using this as educational purposes to educate you guys how crazy the school districts have gotten with our kids and how we, as Americans, need to stop them from doing this stuff to our kids. We need to fight back.
Listener to this show, you may remember a story that we broke about 8 years ago, and I referenced it a few days ago on the show again, about a kid at Ballard High School who was taken by taxi for an abortion, and her parents were never notified. Ballard High School.
Wow. So it was 8 years before this podcast, okay? And it's been a year since then. So 9 years that this crazy stuff has been happening in Seattle. So, okay. So put your mind in being a parent, okay, and having a kid, okay? And your kid tells the teacher or the school, someone, okay, hey, I'm pregnant. And they take your kid without ever notifying you to go get an abortion. How would you feel? That's just crazy, isn't it? The schools are taking your rights as a parent away from you, okay? Which is absolutely bonkers, okay? We need to stand up and fight for our kids and our rights as parents. And yes, I don't have kids, but I can only imagine how this feels, okay? We need to stand up and fight for our kids and our rights.
Just did this unilaterally without the parents being aware of it. And when I referenced this a few days ago on the show, I got an email from Jennifer who said, Dori, imagine my surprise when listening to you mention our daughter's nightmare with the abortion. We have been longtime listeners, never expected it to come up again. But it did, and Jennifer's come into the studio to chat. And Jennifer, it's good to finally meet you in person. We talked by phone 8 years ago when you were going through this whole Seattle schools issue.
Yeah, it's good to be here, Dori. Thanks for letting us share.
Yeah, and the reason I brought up your daughter's situation a few days ago was in the context of what I see as an almost cult-like fervor by the schools and government to take control of kids away from parents and into the hands of real zealots. And you shared a story with me about another one of your kids.
Wow, she had with 2 different issues with 2 different kids because of the school districts, okay? So, the first one was because of her kid got pregnant and the school took the kid to go get an abortion, okay, without the parents' consent. Is that crazy? Okay. Then she had a whole nother issue with another kid of hers, okay, that the school did something, which we're going to hear about, okay, in a minute. And don't worry, the email he's talking about in this video, I will make another video about that in my next video, okay? Which is another interesting story, okay? So let's hear what happened to her second daughter, okay? Here it comes.
And could you just briefly capsulize for the listeners why you were compelled to write to me?
Yeah, so the email the mom in Arizona wrote really struck heart with me because we have two daughters.
And let me just quickly say, I read an email, beautiful, heartbreaking, from a mom in Arizona who had a daughter going through gender dysmorphia and was being almost forced by local government to have hormones and sex reassignment surgery at a early teen age. And you had a similar story.
Right. Yeah, so our youngest actually attended a popular middle school in Seattle, and there's some things in Seattle that they go on a public health mandate that says anybody of any age can get mental health, reproductive health, things like that. Basically, she had some depression that we weren't aware of at 11 years old, and went to her teacher with a note, and from that point forward, she went to a counselor. We were called. While she was alone with these counselors, they told her, instead of asking questions, what is making you feel this way, they told her that she had gender dysphoria. And
that she was a boy trapped in a girl's body.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And that from that point forward, it was counselors, hospitals. Within about a week, they had sent her to a popular psychiatric hospital on the east side for an 8-day stay. They had put her in a room with a 17-year-old.
Let me make sure, when you say they sent her, they put her, were you a part of this decision-making?
No, I was a follower. So they had put the decision in the hands of my 11-year-old child.
So who was pulling the strings?
There's an organization, which I won't name because it actually does a lot of good in the community, but they had come in through CPS and directed this dance that was happening of getting her into the doctor, getting her into Children's Hospital. I was being told this is what needed to happen, or else there was going to be charges filed that I was neglectful of my child. So, of course, as a parent, you want to do everything possible for your child so they're healthy and they're happy and well managed and do what you know is right. But I was being told that this is what needed to happen, or else I was going to be responsible for neglect.
So they are telling your daughter that she's actually a boy. They are starting to lead her down the path of the hormone procedures and the eventual surgical procedure?
So that came a little bit later, over the course of about a year, through counseling and doctor's appointments, her inpatient stay, psychiatric stay. That psychiatric stay within the first week started with medication. Hardcore psychiatric medication. I was not allowed to see her while I was in there unless we were having a meal with her. I think we saw her 3 times during that 8-day stay. So we had no access to her care. And because of her age, we weren't given any of the treatment plan or diagnosis. We were just told she was being put on medication, and that was the end of it. And when she came home with us, she was being counseled by the school for, gender identity issues. And that's what they were telling her it was. So that started clubs and groups and camps and internet searches and talking to other children that were depressed, that were, trans children and things like that. And through the counselors, they had told her that she should really sign up for this particular camp that would help children with their trans feelings and their gender dysphoria issues.
And what's it like for you as a parent to see somebody else having control of your child?
Well, we've already went through that once before.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking because on one end of the spectrum, you want to support your children through any path that if they are a trans child, you want to be there for them and support them and do whatever you need to do. But at the same time, the schools are creating this barrier that are taking the power away from the parents and creating enemies with the children. And it puts you in a state of confusion. You don't know which step to take next.
And you don't use that word lightly when you say enemies. They're literally telling kids, The parents are your enemy. We're your friends. We're your only friends, and we're gonna tell you how to get through this.
Correct. They're saying we are your safe place. Your home is no longer safe for you. That is where your enemy lies. And if they don't agree with your ideas and actions, if they're not affirming to you as a child, which you should be affirming to your children, but within a healthy boundary.
Yeah.
If you're not affirming to your child's ideas, which they can get from anywhere.
Yes, we can all agree, okay, that we need to support our kids, okay? Yes, I know I don't have kids, but this is just common sense right there, okay? But the kids are kids, okay? Teachers do not need to be forcing their opinions and their beliefs on our kids, okay? It's wrong. Teachers are supposed to teach kids on how to think, not what to think.
That you are the enemy. So there's safe places at school, there's safe places at these shelters and these outreach programs. That's your safe place.
Yes.
That home is no longer safe.
So here's what I find despicable about all of this. We don't let kids. Kids aren't supposed to have caffeine. They don't smoke cigarettes. They can't have a glass of wine. But we're giving 11-year-olds hormones that will alter their biology and their physiology for the rest of their life. And I do not understand. And I've said many times, if an adult wants to have a gendered reassignment, that's none of my business. But this almost cult-like fervor to tell kids that this is what they must do and to tell parents that you have no say in this, I will never understand this.
No, the problem is that they're lumping depression and childhood troubles in general. With this, they're saying if you have any issues with depression, anxiety, any sort of mental health issues, this is most likely what it is. And there is not enough data to back up that the hormone blockers and the reassignment surgeries, all of those things, we don't have enough data, research, and actual evidence that they are good for a person. It's not out there. You cannot find it.
Why do you think that there is this mania? And Seattle and the Puget Sound area are ground zero for this. I know people whose kids have gone to places out of state, and the majority of kids are from the Seattle area. There are no counselors around here who will take any contrary path to the cult. Why do you think there's such a mania to try to force kids into gender reassignment here?
Hey, Dori, I can tell you exactly why this is happening, okay? They're brainwashing our kids. They're doing this to our kids so they can get votes, okay? This is all a political stunt. They don't care about these kids. They're just pawns to be used later. But sadly, let's look at this stuff about the youth that's going on right now, okay? They're getting addicted to drugs. They're depressed as shit. They're committing suicide at higher rates than ever before because of this whole victim mentality. This everyone needs a trophy bullshit, okay? This is what's going on. It's not rocket science on what's going on.
We are an area of innovation, and I think that is on the next horizon, which is medical procedures and experiments. We are manufacturing transgender children. I mean, there is no more questions about it anymore. It is almost a manufacturing plant.
But why? Why? What's the motivation?
To be different, I don't know. I really have thought about this over and over and over in my brain, and I cannot wrap my head around it. Maybe it's control. I really don't know.
I don't either.
I can't.
It's all crazy to me. Yeah, but it is part of this, and this is particular to our region, or more prevalent in our region. The government wants to control our lives. I mean, there's no question about that. And if they can start controlling our children, they have a better chance of controlling that person throughout their life. But why these private groups are part of this is beyond me. So we don't have a lot of time left. Tell me about your daughter today.
So I took the watchful waiting. To me, that was the path that I wanted to take, was to watch my child and wait and see what happened. Despite her wanting to do chest binding and hormones and all those things, I just had to put my foot down and say, no, we're gonna watch this and see what happens carefully. She's now a happy 20-year-old, still dealing with depression and anxiety, but she has morphed into the beautiful person that she was before. This was kind of a a low spot for her, but she's coming out of it. So.
She didn't get the hormones?
No.
She didn't do any of the reassignment procedures?
No, we did not agree to that. And it was tough. She fought us. We had issues with that, and it was a struggle. But now we can see that she's kind of coming into her form and discovering who she is. And I really had that thought early on that my child wasn't aware of who she was yet. She was still going through the process of being a young person.
That's the thing. I mean, 11-year-old kids, we don't know anything about life. And we're saying you are going to undergo drugs and procedures that will change you forever. And I just, man, my heart goes out to you, Jennifer. I cannot imagine being in that situation as a parent.
If I had advice for parents that are questioning this and who have children that have come to them and said, I have, gender dysphoria, or I think I'm trans, wait it out and see what happens. Don't jump on the medical board right away. You can make damage that is irreversible for the rest of their lives. And my suggestion would be to follow your heart and wait. And that watchful waiting is so important, to take your time and make sure that it's really right for your child, because there are children out there that do have this.
Sure. And I truly believe that if somebody is, 20 years old, 21, their brain has developed, they feel strongly about it, they're adults, they can make that decision. I do not think 11-year-olds can make that decision about themselves.
My 11-year-old cannot decide what socks she wears in the morning.
Yeah. Well, it's an important story. It's a very important issue, especially in this region. I appreciate you coming in and sharing it all with us.
Just wow. Can you believe what's going on in Seattle, Washington? What they're doing to kids and how they're brainwashing them? This is all started because of a kid was feeling depressed. The therapist told the kid, hey, you are transgender. The kid never said it. It was a therapist, the school counselor that did it, okay? And they forced the parent to follow along. They brought up legal actions against her if she did not follow. Luckily, she did not follow through. She stood up for her kid and what was right, okay? And fought for her kid. And look, now the kid is, 20 years old, is happy being a female, happy to be a lady. He's still depressed and still needs therapy, okay? But that is not a big deal in the grammar schemes of things. A lot of people are depressed. It's kind of normal, but not really, okay? But the kid is safe. And if you look at statistics, kids that start the whole transgender part when they're young, they regret it when they're older, okay? And they feel, sometimes they're so badly mutilated because of the medication and everything that they would never have a normal life. This parent saved her kids from the radical left. Yeah, you guys should really look into Washington and the laws that they're passing on education. They passed a law or a bill, was it last year I think it was, where they could teach elementary kids on how to masturbate. Kindergarten is the beginning phases of sex education. Tell me, why does a kindergarten need to know about sex education? Why does a 5-year-old need to know about masturbation and all that other shit? They don't. It's fucking disgusting. It's like basically pedophile shit right there. So, hope you guys enjoy this video. Like it. Drop your comment. What do you guys know about this? What do you guys think about this? Let me know. All right? Have a good day. Peace out. Just remember, I do not own the rights to this audio.